on today's video, as we are 2 weeks away from our 1000 days in Rise of Kingdoms. In this video, I want to give you guys 5 different regrets I have from 986 days worth of playing this game. Some things I would have done different. Some of these things you can learn from. Others are more personal. Share with you all a little bit of a story. So sit back, slap a like on the video, and let's go. Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to Gecko Gaming. We're back. Rise of Kingdoms is here. 986 days worth of playing this game, and I have a few regrets. These regrets are, well, more precisely, 4 of them are ones that you might be able to learn from and not make my mistakes. And one is a little more personal, which I'll tell you at the very end, that might have changed a lot for this channel as well as for this account and for my experience in Rise of Kingdoms. But anyway, let's get started with it. So here is the thing. My first and I think biggest regret of them all, or maybe the second biggest regret of them all, is that I chose archers as my main types of commanders in the beginning of playing this game. So here is the background really quickly before you think, oh, well, what the heck does that even mean? When I was playing Rise of Kingdoms, everybody at the time, a long time ago, before all this information was out and before all of these commanders were out and all of this knowledge about Rise of Kingdoms was out, everybody was cavalry. Why? Because Lord knows why. At the time, I really didn't understand why everybody wanted cavalry. The only main reason was, they move quicker on the map, and so people wanted to move quicker and do quicker things. A bunch of people also went infantry to counter cavalry when people found out that cavalry is getting countered by infantry. People like Legend Ronnie started as an infantry guy from the beginning because he saw that he was having a decent advantage against the cavalries in the game. But there was nobody who cared for archers. Archers were weak. Archers did not have a juicy commander, with the exception of Yi Seong-Gye, which, for the record, for a very long time, people used to max Richard over maxing Yi Seong-Gye in the very beginning, and he is, to this day, the best commander in Rise of Kingdoms. There was no real meta for archers, and I wanted to be different, and I wanted to be a player that was different than the others. What's the problem with that? Well, cavalry destroyed archers at the time and destroyed it big time. Nowadays, the archer meta is a bit stronger with someone like Ramses and Artemisia for primary commanders as damage-dealing, buffy, tanky commanders that can hold their ground type of thing. But back in the day, you had like Yi Seong-Gye, you had Edward, you had Tamaris, Edward extremely squishy. All these different commanders that were not good for pretty much anything. And I reached a point where I had Edward, Tamaris, and I was a little bit of leading a couple of rallies here and there, but I couldn't do anything on the open field because I didn't have the right commanders for the open field, and I really couldn't get anything done. Now, in today's knowledge of Rise of Kingdoms, archers have a huge role with AoE, with being able to break Zenobia, with all these different things. Archers are part of the latest and greatest meta in the Rise of Kingdoms community, and still in the early stages, they are being used a little bit more nowadays for Cyrus League and all these things. But I think if I had more cavalry commanders, more infantry commanders, if I had focused more on that, my experience in Rise of Kingdoms would have changed as a whole. I would have fought more on the open field. I would have had more potential to enjoy the game better. And so I think that choosing archers was a huge mistake. And that's one of my first regrets. My second regret, as crazy as it seems, and it's still going to this day, and I still haven't done it, and I still don't know if I'm gonna do it, and you guys are gonna get mad at me, and a lot of people get mad at me about that, is that I never maxed out all my buildings, okay? Now listen. One of my biggest things was, oh, there's actually one of these that hasn't been maxed out. That we can do. But anyway, one of my biggest things about this game was that, or in general, and this is also another one of the regrets that I'll explain, is that I have a really hard time with things that take time. You got to wait and then get back on time to do it again type of thing. So for example, gathering. If you tell me, listen, you got to send your gatherers out in an hour, you got to come back to send the gatherers out again, I have a really hard time doing that in any game, in anything in general. Like, I hate having to have my hand on my pulse kind of thing to make sure that okay, we got to get back. We got to get gathering. It's a personal pet peeve of mine, from barbarian hunting to gathering to all these things that require you to come back in an hour. I never remember to do that. Even if I set timers, and I did set timers, I find myself getting distracted, and next thing you know, it's been 6 hours and I haven't gathered a single thing. And so the reason I'm saying this is every single time I found myself having to make a choice between using the little resources I had to train troops and grow, heal to occasionally fight, and to build the buildings. And I mean, these buildings are expensive. You need, like, this is like 90 million resources to get a leveled up gold mine all the way through. Now, granted, it's been so long that these haven't been maxed out. They would have already made those resources back more than likely and more, right? So if you don't know, when you max out a building, well, you're going to get a double up on the max gold, on the max capacity, double up on the production, double up on, except for the power, right? So you're going to get double the resources. And so, yeah, I definitely do regret it because I've had situations in which the buildings got filled and I didn't click them, so they didn't produce resources. If I double them up, that means double the resources, which means double the time they're producing, which gave me more time to not have to come back to click on the buildings. So yes, I do regret not maxing all the buildings. Now, granted, I did max out all my hospitals, even though for a while I had one hospital that hadn't been maxed out. But once I started actually being a garrison captain, I realized that we really want this, we really want that. And so, yeah, all of them are not maxed out yet. You saw there's one building in here, and then these three right here. We might expertise them, we might max them out, depending on how this KVK goes. But again, I always gave priority to the resources, to just being able to survive long term. And I'll explain to you a little bit more what that is in another regret. All this is kind of like a big story tied up to kind of tell you how my experience through Rise of Kingdoms has gone, and why some things have been done the way they have been done. So while we're at it, gathering boosts really quickly and all these, and we continue with our story. So my third regret, and I'm actually going to change them around, and this is not in a particular order per se. My third regret is that I did not gather more. And of course, this ties up to what I was just talking about. I have a little bit of a hard time of just doing this once an hour, log in, do it. And I understand it's so dumb. It's like you can in 5 minutes really quickly log into the farm, send, click, build, next. In half an hour, you can maintain like 4 farms, no problem, and your main account and everything just to gather. But just that tediousness of doing the tasks, like, heck, even since the Wednesday stream, okay, where the guys in LIIG told me, hey, go put your farm in LIIL type of thing, and you can leave them there. You won't get kicked for being inactive. Even that, then, when I already know I can't apply to it, one of my farms, I did that on stream and got on and all that stuff, but I definitely didn't do it on the other farm yet. I have not done it on the other farm yet. Oh my goodness. I teleported out for 1 second to go do Shadow Legion, and it pops a barbarian fort exactly where I was. Fantastic. Anyway, as you can see, even the second farm hasn't even gotten logged into yet, just because the tediousness of it just deters me. And I don't know how it happens. It's a regret of mine, but it's just who I am. And sometimes when it comes to tedious tasks, I'm not good at it. I hate it. I hate repetitive stuff. It just causes issues in my brain. It just goes down in the priority list. And so I do regret not gathering more, because if I gathered more, obviously I could have grown more. I could have done more things. I could have fought more. I could have not cared for troops. I could have more of everything. All this game is about gathering and training troops, right? So I do regret not gathering more. It's just a little bit hard for me personally to go against these things that that cause me a little bit of issues on the personal side. Speaking of issues on the personal side, the last regret is going to be something about that, more of a personal thing, and we'll get there in a second. If you're enjoying this video, of course, don't forget to slap a like on it, hit that subscribe down below, and you know what? If you want to help out the channel, drop a comment as well. The YouTube algorithm loves when you guys do those comments, when you guys smash likes and all that good stuff, so that helps out a little bit. So my fourth regret is actually being in JWM for as long as I had been. And here's the thing. When I moved into JWM, I didn't move into JWM like a lot of people think, to leech or to farmer gecko or to yada, 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 whatever you think. My first and foremost thing was like JWM at the time was the most feared beast. It was the alliance that everybody talked about. And it's still to this day, even though it's filled with hate against them, no other alliance for a very long time was being bet on as much as JWM has been. No alliance has been watched as much as JWM has been. And so my thought was, maybe if I get in and I'm inside JWM and I show you JWM from the inside, it would be an awesome content. I really quickly found out that the people there were awesome and everything was awesome, but it was just a normal alliance like everybody else, except that people spent a ton of money in it. There was nothing very crazy about JWM. There was nothing very unique about JWM. There was just a lot of cool, awesome people who worked together very well, a very strong leader, and a lot of money. And that was about that. Now, I'm not summarizing JWM in a nutshell as like a bad thing, right? It was a fantastic alliance. It was a great time, but I definitely think I could have moved somewhere else that would have given me a little bit more content, that would have been a lot more fun. Me being in JWM gave a lot of negative view towards me, both on this channel as well as in the community in general. And I couldn't keep up with them. So I was definitely not like the top tier player in JWM. And as a result as well, everybody feared JWM. So it was very tough to have good KVKs. I could stream for 10, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours worth of fights, and then everybody would dissipate. And that would cause a situation where getting kills was tough because nobody wanted to fight us. You'd have to literally go run after and chase kills. Add to that the fact that I was an archer player, that did not help that much at all. So I think that being in JWM for as long as I was a huge mistake. I think that to a certain extent, I got accustomed to just like the comfiness of just being there and just being able to just log in every single day to probably 40, 50 plus gold chests every single day. It allowed to just hoard a stupendous amount of speed ups. It allowed to hoard a decent amount of resources. And it just allowed me to just not really have to do much and yet still have this account grow a tremendous amount. Now, our final regret will tie up this whole story and will give you a little bit of better perspective. And this is a little bit on a personal side, okay? When I started playing Rise of Kingdoms, I was on the personal side in life, not in a good financial situation. Yeah, you don't want to get into a pay-to-win game when you don't have the money to pay to win, or you decide that you're a free-to-play player or a low spender. And for a while, Kingdom chat is going nuts. I don't know what the heck is going on. These guys with their traitor and trash talk. I don't even know. You're a joke. Damn, that's some messed up stuff right there. Anyway, don't mess with A. You don't want to mess with them. Anyway, I wasn't in the best financial situation. Now, I did get sponsored by Rise of Kingdoms, and for the first, I believe, like 6 or ish months worth of sponsorship, the incentives were fantastic in-game for a while until the content creator stuff happened. But the outside of the game compensation wasn't as good. And that changed after a while. But I reached a point where I made a personal decision to use whatever finances I was getting from the sponsorship or whatever outside of the game compensation I was getting from the sponsorship to kind of close down some pretty decent debt that I was in. And that caused a situation in which I was spending all the money from the YouTube channel into the game, but that wasn't as much. And it reached a point where I could have potentially spent more to build this account better and to get you guys more content. But I was still a bit younger, and I was still a bit less financially stable to tell myself, I'm going to drop $1,500 into Rise of Kingdoms. Just to give you a little bit of a reference, a couple of years before that, I used to live off of $1,500 a month. And that included barely paying rent, barely paying for anything, having $100 a month to spend on food, and that was it. And so when I started seeing a little bit of money come in from playing a mobile game, and I was able to do a little bit more, get out of the financial hole that I was in, it took me a few years to reach a point where I was comfortable even spending $100 in the game. Like I would sit here on stream with you guys and tell you, I don't spend more than $20 bundle because honestly, I can't fathom to spend $50 on one bundle into a mobile game when I used to lived for almost a year off of $100 a month for food. Okay? I reached a point where I remember that I had not enough gas in the car, and I had a job interview, and I drove to the job interview, and when I came back, I had that, like, I could feel that the gas light was on, and I could feel that the car wouldn't make it. I went into the gas station, I scrounged all the coins from the car, I went to the cashier, and I told him, this is the most embarrassing thing I gotta do. I put 32 cents on the counter and told him to give me 32 cents worth of gas. And thankfully, the guy was cool, and he's like, he put $1 from his pockets so I can get $1.32 worth of gas to get home. And so it was really tough for me for a little while to get past that barrier of spending into the game in order to bring you guys better content, to enjoy the game. So that's a big regret of mine. And all this kind of ties up to my 5 biggest regrets in Rise of Kingdoms. And honestly, I don't think that I would have loved to build this channel a little bit differently, to build this community and this account, and even my image in this community a little bit different. But a lot of us have, and the main reason I'm telling you this is a lot of us have different backgrounds, and a lot of us come from different journeys in life. And so try not to judge people based on stats, and try not to judge people based on spending or not, but rather on the person behind the camera, well, behind the account in this scenario, because at the end of the day, everybody is human, and we're all part of this Rise of Kingdoms community, and you don't necessarily know what other people are going through. So, you know, when people were calling me a leech and a farmer and all that, it seems to them like they're like, oh yes, I'm a big boy. I got a big pee-pee for spending $20,000 a month on a game, or spending $24,000 a year into a mobile game, where you don't know that for me, $24,000 a year would have changed my life entirely. And so, yes, I do regret a lot of things. I do regret not maxing buildings. I do regret picking archers. I do regret not being necessarily not investing into the game as much as maybe I should have in order to make you guys want to gain your respect in that sense. But if there's one thing I learned, is that in life, everything's about lessons and how you go about things. And this is why I am making changes in the way I do things as well. And not only in necessarily in this game, but in other facets of my life where I'm maybe I changed a little bit. And that's partially thanks to you guys. So those are my regrets. Some of these are more in-game mechanics. Others are more personal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to slap a like on it. Hit that subscribe down below. I'll see you on Saturday's stream, where we will indeed, I think, hunt for history. We got to get some hammers, though, and start beating this thing up. I don't know which blueprints we're going to go for yet, but we'll figure that out. Take care. Have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.